Welcome to 5 Minutes, your quick dive into the wide-ranging world of insurance, technology, and leadership. I'm Miguel Edwards, and I'll be your guide as we explore these topics that are transforming not just the insurance industry, but the business world at large. Along with sharing observations I've made over the span of my career in insurance, technology, and operations, I'll be chatting with some of the brightest minds in business and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned executive or a rising star, an industry expert, or just curious about how technology is revolutionizing insurance, this is your perfect spot for your weekly dose of insights. This is 5 Minutes.
Andrea Collins, Chief Marketing Officer at Hippo. Thanks so much for being on 5 Minutes.
Great to meet you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So every interview, I always like to start with this question because there's always usually an interesting story. Unless you planned on going to school to be an actuary, how did you get into insurance?
I did not go to school with plans to be an actuary. Although, what a great career path if you knew that early on. I, like many others, stumbled into insurance. I started off with a strong interest in fintech. I was working for several different startups externally through agencies, and then discovered insurtech as kind of an off-spin of fintech. Met some really interesting founders in the space, and ultimately started advising for and working for Policygenius, early insurtech. Saw a lot of relevancy and impact in the space, especially on the end consumer. I was particularly interested in the linkage between bankruptcy and insurance costs in the early days.
Yeah.
Wanted education to be a big focus of the sector in the space. And ultimately, I feel like I've done that. It's great. Yeah.
Fantastic career ride. Wow, it's amazing. So, when you think about your journey and I, kind of looking through the different stops that you've made, marketing has to have changed at some point, right?
Yeah.
The way we market to consumers has changed dramatically. Talk me through what that must have been like as a marketing professional, how you had to make those adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to focus on the insurance space and marketing within the insurance space just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
And I think when I got into marketing and insurance, I was up against a wall in the context of budgets and relevancy. So I knew that I couldn't buy a stadium with VC money. And I knew that there was an opportunity to be much more targeted and tailored in our approach. As I mentioned, education, I think, should be a center of a focus, and relaying the information that customers need, which are so often just called policyholders, right? There's customers at the end of that. Relaying that information in plain English in a way that they can understand. So a lot of what I did in the early days that I think is becoming more and more mainstay now is I got creative. Yeah. So find the segment that applies to your customer set. And that shouldn't just be early adopters because you're a tech company. Yeah. That is, who needs your product the most? Who needs your help? Tailor your campaigns towards them. Really make sure they understand that benefit. And no, it's not going to be a national stadium branding campaign. It's going to be this part or area of New York City or San Francisco or the Bay Area. And then really driving strong value through creative campaigning there.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.